Decades after leaving the Oval Office, the legacy of Bill Clinton is facing a definitive re-examination as he enters a closed-door congressional deposition. In February 2026, the release of millions of documents, commonly known as the Epstein files, placed the 42nd president back in the crosshairs of federal investigators. While Clinton maintains he saw nothing and did nothing wrong, the unsealing of flight logs and photographs from the early 2000s has reignited a debate over executive accountability and the personal conduct of public figures. The immediate stake is not just a matter of historical reputation, but a modern test of how the Democratic Party reconciles its 1990s pragmatism with current standards of social and sexual ethics. As Clinton's legal team asserts his philanthropic motivations for international travel, GOP lawmakers are pivoting the focus toward financial links and the power dynamics of his past associations. To understand the scrutiny facing Clinton today, one must trace the evolution of presidential ethics, a concept that has shifted from the rigid constitutional theories of the 18th century to the media-saturated accountability of the modern era. Historically, executive responsibility was viewed through the lens of party factionalism and legislative duty, as seen during the accession of John Tyler or the expansion of power under FDR. However, the precursor to Clinton's specific brand of scrutiny was the post-Watergate era, which established a precedent for the independent counsel. Entering the 1992 race as a New Democrat from Arkansas, Clinton bridged the gap between traditional Southern conservatism and liberal social policy. He survived early scandals regarding the Vietnam draft and personal infidelity to become the first Democratic president in 12 years. Yet his tenure was immediately defined by the tension between private behavior and public performance, culminating in the first impeachment of a president since 1868. Clinton presidency operated on three distinct pillars: fiscal restructuring, social compromise, and global stabilization. First, the 1993 Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act shifted the nation from chronic deficits to a budget surplus by increasing taxes on high earners and implementing the Earned Income Tax Credit. This led to a 16.3% income growth for the bottom 20% of households. Second, the administration used triangulation to pass controversial social legislation, such as the 1994 Crime Bill, which incentivized stricter sentencing and contributed to a significant rise in the national incarceration rate. Third, on the global stage, Clinton oversaw the deactivation of over 1,700 Soviet-era nuclear warheads. However, his domestic policy was often marked by friction, such as the "don't ask, don't tell" policy, which attempted to balance military tradition with burgeoning civil rights, ultimately satisfying neither faction. The legacy of the 42nd president is currently trapped in a clash between economic pragmatism and modern ethical standards. Supporters of the Clinton era point to the golden age of the 1990s, arguing that his policies delivered the lowest poverty rate in 20 years and the lowest unemployment in a generation. Their goal is to preserve the New Democrats' model as a template for functional, bipartisan governance that prioritizes measurable quality of life improvements. Conversely, modern critics, including a new generation of Democrats, argue that Clinton's successes were bought at an unacceptable social cost. They cite the 1994 Crime Bill as a primary driver of systemic mass incarceration and view the handling of the Lewinsky scandal as an abuse of power differentials. This group predicts that failing to hold former leaders to current standards of conduct undermines the integrity of the executive branch and the progress of social justice movements. Looking forward, the Clinton legacy faces three distinct challenges. First is the legal trajectory of the House investigation into the Epstein files. Should new financial or logistical links emerge, it may lead to further sworn testimonies or civil litigation. Second, a legislative reassessment is underway as policymakers in both parties work to roll back the sentencing guidelines established in the 1990s. Finally, the Democratic Party is undergoing a social recalibration, moving away from the defend-at-all-costs strategy of the impeachment era toward a culture of accountability for misconduct. As historical distance increases, the Clinton doctrine of fiscal responsibility and social compromise will continue to be weighed against the personal and systemic consequences of his era's decisions.